that our lives are acknowledged, especially in the wake of what's happening right now with Dante Wright. Yet again, another life taken in Minnesota. And we want to give our deepest condolence to his family. And I think at this time, we're just trying to come to terms with how we can, have those crucial conversations with our children about what it means to be Black in America and what it means to be Black in this world in general. It's not the easiest thing to wake up to and see, especially having a Black husband, having a Black brother, having a Black father, and knowing that our men are not protected and our lives are not protected and seen as equal. It's gut-wrenching, it's heartbreaking. And so we want to just acknowledge that and wish our deepest condolences.
And just to, how do you make a better point than that? I think it's really important that we start looking at our lives from a different standpoint. Like, this is no longer individual cases. This is systemic. Like, we're seeing people doing the same thing over and over again, and now we're demanding a different result. So I'm glad that in this exact example, the officer has been not only put on administrative leave, but now they've been detained. And that's the kind of results that we need to see going forward, because without that, how do we really say our lives matter, right? Yeah. So we're praying for all of Minnesota tonight.
Yeah. All right. Such a tough one. So kind of just to get into it, Vanaj and I have been having a few crucial conversations as of late. I do want to share with my followers, so I'm going to go ahead and do that so we can get some of my friends in on the conversation. And I'm excited to hear what folks have to say tonight, especially about how you handle nervous system responses when it comes to how you deal with disagreements and having those conversations. Are you a fighter? Do you flight or flee? Are you, I think the other one is fawn, right?
That's a new one.
Freeze.
I didn't know about that one.
So it's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. What is your nervous system response when it comes to having crucial conversations? I'm definitely a fighter.
Yeah, I think we can safely say that you like to fight. You don't run. That's for damn sure.
I fight for sure. Let me go ahead and share this with some people so that they can join in on the convo. I want to see what everyone has to say about their response to or reaction to having those conversations. Sending that up now.
This is going to be a great conversation. Now, let's before we get into it, there's something that I guess we should definitely talk about. So I don't know if you guys were on the last live. We talked about Coinbase, and the IPO was today. Started off at 250, and it went up by 31% today. Actually went to a high of $424. So it was a high literally after the open. So remember, we said when these things open up, you got to remember, it's going to go up, then it's going to sink down a little bit, and then it's going to kind of show you what it's going to do over the next 3 days, right? So that's where we are right now. But that was a very good win for those who decided to jump on that IPO and get some shares of that. Congratulations to you. I was too slow. I tried to get them this morning.
I was so annoyed at the fact that we didn't hop in a lot sooner.
I was upset. TD didn't set it up as quickly as I thought they would. So
what was the number? It IPO'd at 250. Went up to what?
Went up as high as 424. But now it ended up at 322, 328, 28. So that's still a pretty good gain. That's a 31% day gain. So for all of you who got into that, congratulations. You didn't play yourself. So, and I think, again, I
played myself.
It's okay. It's okay. For folks who are joining us right now that may not know us, this is the lovely Alexia Ifechukwu Igwe. This is my wife. That's my better half. Anytime I have her on, I don't want to be on because I'm like, she just doesn't need me right now. This is her, but I'm gonna be here for moral support. And if she has any questions or wants the male perspective, I'll handle that. But today's gonna be about relationships. So just get right into it, boo. So we talked stocks. So
again, I can't wait for us to talk a little bit more about love and money and understanding how to manage money within relationships, because I do feel like not knowing how to manage that does create some issues. Hello, peace, Joyna, and Lady Mimi. as well as Glaze Martin.
Joy, what's going on? There's Martiliano. I can barely see that, but I see it.
I know, it's
what's going
so
on?
hard.
How you doing?
Hello, Revolution Nels. Hey, girl. All right. So yeah, let's get into it. I think the first thing, as I mentioned a little bit before, was, how do you respond or react to crucial conversations? There's four different components or four different types, right? There's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And I thought there were only flight and fight for a very long time until I did some research and discovered the other two. And so obviously fight is like making sure that you are actually or not making sure, but responding, speaking your mind, telling the person how you feel, sometimes saying things that you may not necessarily be the most proud of or things that you might want to take back, but you are fighting and responding or reacting in a way where you feel like you need to defend yourself. The flight is like just fleeing away from the situation, not necessarily wanting to be a part of the conversation or being opposed to confrontation. And I think, let me describe the other two before I go into my personal opinion. But the freeze is freezing in the midst of a conflict or a crucial conversation, not necessarily wanting to partake in it, just kind of staying quiet, not really having a response. And then fawn, not sure if you all know what that is, but fawn is kind of being a little bit more complicit. So actually, agreeing to what the person says. So being more agreeable, kind of being easily, dissuade or deterred from your initial response or reaction, but just saying, okay, you're right. It's fine. Like, it's not that big of a deal, brushing it off instead of actually having those crucial, critical conversations. So that's what fawn is. And again, what I've discovered is each of them are temporary and they don't necessarily describe you as the person. So don't think, okay, like I'm just a fighter or I just run away from things. I hate conflict. It's temporary and it's ever changing, and people can kind of react to crucial conversations or topics based on how they feel within that moment. Oh, our video paused. Based on how they feel within that moment. So you may be in the mood to flee. You may be in the mood to fawn. I do find myself sometimes like, okay, you know what? You're right. But we still get to the nitty gritty and the details of the conversation. So it's not necessarily just about being in a marriage. It's also about, being in relationships, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend dynamic, parental relationships with your boss, you know what I mean? Your spouse. So it's honestly understanding how to have those conversations regardless of who you're conversing with, and making sure that you are creating that safe space where they don't feel uncomfortable or they don't feel attacked. They might feel uncomfortable, but where they don't feel attacked in their personhood or their character. That's honestly the importance. It's creating that safe space and doing your best not to attack the other person's character, but stating the facts about what's happening and what's making you upset or what you feel like you need to address.
I mean, that's exactly it. I think a lot of times when folks that are either single, because we're going to take the perspective of single, dating, married, divorced, all of that. And I think from each perspective, there's always something that you have to be aware of. The first thing, like when you're single, sometimes you have to take a lot of mess. Like when I was single, I didn't take a lot of mess. I'm like, yo, listen, you don't even have to be here right now. So why are we even arguing about this? So like it's a lot different of a conversation as opposed to when you're dating someone, just one person and like, hey, this is a committed relationship. I got to care what you think. Like We are now dating. Now we have a commitment. There's a level of respect that needs to happen in that relationship. And then when you're married, it's like, okay, now you're joined by God, so that's a whole different level again. And the way that you behave in each one, I think the stakes get higher, because again, when you're single, you can just break up. When you're exclusively dating, you can still break up, right? Stakes aren't as high, but it's a little bit higher. When you're married, the stakes are like up there. That's as high as it gets. Like, I don't think there's a higher stake than being married to somebody. Because at that point, it's like now you have assets combined, you have children, you have all these different things that you now have to take account. Like you can't just say, hey, you're my wife and I'm mad, so I'm walking out. Like, what are you walking out on? Your home, your kids, your mortgage? Like, what are you doing?
The stakes are definitely higher.
They're higher.
And I would say that like I had a lower tolerance in relationships than I do now in my marriage. when it comes.
I didn't know
to,
you back then, so you're gonna have to speak on that truth.
Yeah,
you know
that is my truth.
Speak the truth now.
I definitely was more the type of person like, oh yeah, you're not my husband. Like, I'm not gonna deal with this. Like, I definitely feel like I wasn't willing to stand for certain things. It was just like, yeah, you know what? Like, if that's how you're gonna behave, like I'll put up with things. I'll say that I'm pretty long suffering.
Oh yeah. For sure.
But after a while, I'm like, you know what? No. But I think in this relationship and in our union and partnership and everything that we are, I definitely feel like I'm a little bit more tolerant. But I do, again, like I said, I tend to fight. So,
and that's a good thing. I think you want to have a level of excitement in your relationship. So if you were a boring person and you're like, oh yes, however it is that you like, what color do you like? Whatever color it is that you like, like if that's what we had, I'd Eddie Murphy you. I'd go to Queens. I'm just saying.
You are in Queens with the Queen.
That happens to be true. That happens to be true. But you get the point. So we're going to talk about this dynamic, and I think the part of this that I really enjoy is the fact that we have two perspectives. You know, as a man in this example, on a heterosexual marriage, the way that I approach an argument or conversation is different than my wife, and we're going to talk about that, and we can actually have a real conversation about it, because I think even on like Clubhouse, you kind of have to be a little bit like dancing around certain things. PC. This is our IG. We can say whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
And it's just us. There's no one in here interrupting or doing anything. So it's like, okay, let's get to it. Let's see what the real tea is. And I'm going to speak for all the men out here. I got your back. And Alexia, she's got all
I got the ladies. So you can speak for all of them. I can't necessarily speak for all the women because I'm going to
speak for all the men. That's all I know.
As a woman, I know like we all have our own things, but I'll speak in...
The energy that is the union.
I'll just speak. Whatever. I'll speak for him. I was just trying to be difficult.
I don't know why. It's okay. We're gonna get this all out early, guys. We have this all out early. So, what is our first, I guess, debatable subject? Because I think we should go into like arguments.
Yeah, arguments, disagreements. I'm sorry. I'm focused. I'm just trying to let my friends know too, because we are on yours. Yeah.
So while you're doing that, I'm gonna give them my 2 cents on arguments. So in this marriage, and I think this is something that men, I'm gonna speak to you right now, your level of tolerance is going to increase the deeper you go into a relationship. Meaning that when you move from being single to exclusively dating, to then engaged, to then married, your level of tolerance has to increase, because if it doesn't, you're gonna die a miserable single death. Like, you're not going to enjoy your life. Because I think back to my early 20s, there was a conversation that I had, and it wasn't becoming. Like, I was very, very like ignorant. I said some stupid things that I did not mean, and it lives with me forever. Like, I literally utilize that example as to why I will never do that. And who's the benefactor of that?
I am.
She's the benefactor. You know why? Because she didn't have to go through that version of me, right? Someone else did. And God bless them. Because they helped.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, they helped,
fellow queen.
They helped me get to this place where I can then have these conversations, in a manner that's going to be respectful. Because I think as a man, being a man and being a male are two different things. Male is my gender. A man is like what you aim to be, right? Not all males are men. And I know there's some folks that say that, and it's true. Like, you have to understand that there's a responsibility that you have in a relationship. You know what I mean? You're an equal half of a relationship, and it's your job to maintain order as best you can within your own spirit, so that you're not the reason why something goes astray. Because I can tell you right now, arguing with Alexia, I'm gonna tell you, she's a strong-minded, powerful Black woman. If I argue with her the way she argues with me, it'd be Armageddon. It'd be over. It wouldn't be a relationship.
Things would probably fly.
It just wouldn't work. You know what I'm saying? We have to have different of strategies going in. And as a man, I'm gonna say right now, we have the bass, we have the treble, we have the muscles, we have all of these things, because we're designed to protect and do, like, that's what we're designed to be safe. Don't ever utilize that in an argument. If you're a man and you have to get physical to prove your point, then you're not a man, you're a boy. Excuse me, I'm speaking for men today. If you have to resort to using your hands, or to yelling, or to being straight up ignorant, you're a boy. And you have to grow up, and maybe there's going to be a woman that's going to tolerate that. But most of the women that I know and that I respect,
not having it.
They're not tolerating that. So as a man, just understand, stepping up to the argument isn't about who's louder. It isn't about who's stronger, who's bigger. It's about who's right. And sometimes we're wrong because we're going on what we're thinking as opposed to the feeling and the emotions behind the argument. So, but what's your thoughts?
And honestly, being right sometimes is overrated. I think
agree.
It's like, we talk about this, right? And in crucial conversations, it's creating that shared pool of meaning and understanding. So I think when it comes to arguments and dynamics, it's understanding that there are, especially with men and women, male, female, there is the emotion times logic, and it's understanding how to combine the two. I know that for me, like, I'm a Cancer, so I'm moody. I'm quick to admit that, and I operate in a state of emotion.
You're not moody. You just go through the emotions.
I go through the emotions.
Moody's like, oh, I'm having a bad day. You're like, no, you pissed me off. I'm mad, and then you're like, but I love you. So,
right, okay,
that's not moody. That's kind of like, you're just going through the emotions. Honestly.
Yeah. And that's true. And it's so, well, thank you for admitting that or saying that, right? Because going through the emotions, honestly, it took me a while to get to that place. So speaking about how other people had to deal with certain things, for me, I used to kind of so I talked about, right, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So I think that I would kind of sometimes like flee in certain situations, and he had. You gotta describe what this means. You gotta describe what that means. I don't think they know what that
flying
away from conflict, not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to like address it, because I know when I get there how aggressive I can be or assertive I can be, and so I would just be like, whatever, like, I'm done with this situation. I'm done talking. I'm just gonna walk away from this. And
what about that busy part where they say that you're talking about? Yes,
and they also. So in my research, I also found out that like, flight also stems from, or you can see busyness. I have always been like a busy person. I always find things to do. I love working. And so like, it's my way to kind of like escape from dealing with confrontation and dealing with certain situations. I'll just work and I won't speak. I'm just like, let me just focus on what I'm doing. And it does, like I said, it has taken my husband to kind of like wrangle me and like reel me back in and say, no, we're going to talk about this. And it's just been a beautiful dance, because I feel like now it's so cliche to say like we don't go to bed angry, but we honestly don't, because it's like, I'm not letting you go to sleep. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk this through. Like, it doesn't matter how we feel right now. Let's just get through the hurdle and let's have this really difficult, crucial, critical conversation so that we can come to a place of shared understanding and shared meaning. And I think that's just been like the most life-changing part in being in this. And that's the importance of finding the right partner, whether or not you're single or you're currently in a marriage, right? It's important for you to get to a place where both of you can understand, okay, like, let's work on creating a safe space for one another and not making it difficult for a person to come to me and say how they feel.
All right. I want to say a quick shout out to Mo, Odlis, Asia. What's going on? Nice to see y'all. Thanks for joining us. We don't usually do joint Facebook lives. I think I see Mortal Group up in here. What's going on, brother? Yeah, we don't usually do lives together, but we had to. This is a juicy relationship subject topic, so we figured we would bring our minds together and try to address it as best we can. So,
yes. I love Asia's statement. Yes, I'd rather be in peace than to be right, and I agree completely. It's like being right is completely overrated, and that's the space. Like, we both kind of just have to come to that. We're like, it's not even about being right. Like, let's just.
I want to be right. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I love being right. I don't aim for it, but. I mean, who wouldn't want to be right? Like, I want to be, because again, think about it. Like, if we're having an argument about something and there's definitely a clear right and wrong, I want to hope that I'm on the right side of that conversation so that no matter what happens, it ends in the right direction because it needs to.
And you're right about that. I think the way that you manage to stay on the right side of the conversation is by maintaining, like, is equilibrium the right word?
Yeah, no, that's a
like,
fantastic word.
You maintain your state of being. And you allow me to go through the emotions, and I mean, there are times.
But there are moments where you're in the right, and I'm like still doing the same emotional holding because I'm like, I don't agree with you. That okay,
you do the emotional holding. Yeah. You've managed to master that, but yes, there are times when I'm also like in that space too.
We have a saying though. We're saying is like only one of us is allowed to be upset or during an argument. Yeah. Like so, for example, even today before this we had a 100% honesty. We had a disagreement, right?
About avocados.
And Yeah. And this is the thing. When you're married, like, I just want you guys to know, you're going to argue about stupid stuff. It doesn't even have to be real things. Like, you're going to argue about fruit. You're going to argue about you left the door open at night and it's got a draft.
You left your sock on the bed again.
It's going to be dumb, but I think how you handle the dumbness is what matters. And I tell wife all the time, I'm like, listen, if you're really, really mad, I'm going to try my best to not even get to that stage and just walk you through that. And whenever I'm really, really mad, don't go toe to toe with me. Just say, yes, honey. It's okay, babe. It's going to be fine. Just calm down. Go play your game and come back when just calm me down. Because one of us has to be the calm version. Because if both of us are going off, there's going to be no safe space being created there. And that's something in a relationship. And even in any type of crucial conversation, which is a strong emotions, high stakes, differing opinions. Those are the three factors that determine a crucial conversation, right? So that could be at work. That could be with your siblings. That could be with your parents telling you that you can't do certain things because they don't trust that you can do the right. Like, that could be with anybody. But the goal is that you have to know that when that starts, someone's got to be level-headed. Because if both of you guys are going for nuclear warfare, it's over. Like, forget your relationship, forget your mental health. Like, it's all fail.
Yeah. No, 100%. I feel like it's important for us to kind of maintain just a balance.
Yeah. What's going on, Patty? What's going on, JD?
Pat. Hi, JD.
You got military in the house. What's going on, brother?
Right. Thanks for tapping in. All right. Well, let's talk about the other thing that I wanted to mention was just like not attacking the person's character.
Ooh, that's a good one. Men, pay attention to this part because you're going to have to deal with this at some point in your relationship.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to having those conversations, right? And just being mindful of what you're saying in the heat of the moment. Because I think that's when it's most important for us to exude or exhibit grace. And that's something that I'm constantly working on, right? So Janelle said, important conversation. Lots of times we don't learn to communicate as children. A whole fact. And we are going to be getting into that, right? And if we don't get it to this week,
we're going to get into it. No. We got 30 minutes powerhouse conversation. You guys already know how we behave.
Yes.
So we're going to get through it. Come on.
Yes. So attacking the person's character, let's just harp a little bit on what Revolutionelle said. It's learning how to communicate as children. If certain things are being told to you or ingrained in your subconscious, then you're going to respond or react in that way. I think sometimes when you are dealing with conflict or a certain situation, you're like, oh my God, like this person is horrible. This person is selfish, or this person is, you're attacking their character and kind of demeaning who they are. You're not looking at the moment and saying, okay, you have selfish tendencies, or, you have a certain way of being, like just really nasty. And let's figure out how we talk about the situation at hand and not necessarily attacking that person, because we're all human. We all do things. We all make mistakes. And so it's just being mindful and graceful within the heat of the moment to say, okay, like, let me really reel this back. Think about it. Okay. It's not that I don't like you. It's that I don't like what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And again, creating that safe space where the person doesn't feel attacked. So how do you go about doing that? I think one of the things that you actually taught me is speaking about how I feel, right? Because I shifted into this mindset of I think, constantly trying to use logic and not talking about the issue at hand and how it's making me feel and how it's impacting me. When you do that, the person understands where you're at because they can relate. They're human. If they can't, then one, they're either narcissistic or they just honestly don't care. But if a person isn't a narcissist and isn't, doing things and without regard for the other person, then they're going to be able to level set with you and understand exactly where you're coming from, because they're human too and they don't want to be treated that way.
What does level set mean?
Level set is kind of just like creating a space where you are, and there can be so many different, level set is like a good like work terminology, but I'm
just trying to figure out what it means. I'm just saying.
setting the tone and creating the space, like where there's like, this is how I'm feeling, like in understanding how just human
creating a mutual
understanding
agreement on something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just want to make sure, because someone might ask that question. I just want to know what that means to you.
Yeah, it's just like setting the field.
But what you mentioned, you said about the parental seat part of it. So most of us are West Indian parents or African parents, or if you have Caribbean or just parents that are from a developing country, right? They came over here,
Mm-hmm.
had us, and brought the developing countries' behavior over here. So usually when you have West Indian parents, they tell you to shut the hell up, right? Don't talk back.
I'm
you might,
right,
you
you're
might catch
wrong.
this pot spoon. You might catch this hot rocket. You might catch this slipper. Like they were like all football stars. I don't know if you know, like my mom was fast. She could run fast, so we couldn't outrun her, right? So she could always chase you down. But she also had like the aim of like Hank Aaron. Like she was just able to just
Let's
get
not
you
even talk about my
with
mom.
stuff. So like we come from these parental figures who taught us how to, be quiet and just understand.
It was like,
Don't
spare
talk
the
back.
rod.
Yeah. So now as an adult now, you're going to have kids and have a marriage and have relationships. And are you to use the tools that our parents used on us, on them? Because if that's the case, you're going to be beating your kids. You're going to be using whatever
profane language.
And we know better. Like our parents did the best that they could with what they had. So for us, we have to move the conversation forward. And for all of you that are listening, it's like when you're now having these conversations with your partner and with your children, and you came from a Caribbean household or African household where you were beat or you were misdemeanor, like you were like taught to be like, shut up and don't say anything, that's on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, point that at you, that they're listening on that.
Sorry.
So, you were taught not to speak up, not to share your emotions. And if you're a man or a boy growing up and now you're a man,
it makes you weak.
You were taught not to share your emotions, not to say, I feel, or I don't like when you did this. It made me feel like we weren't taught to speak that way. I learned that by listening to previous people that I dated say it. And I'm like, okay, if you can say it, I want to say it too. And I was like, I don't care if I'm a man. I have feelings. What the hell's wrong with y'all? Like we all have feelings. We all come from a similar place. So we need to do things in a unique way where it's like, let's not be our parents. Let's be better than them. Let's try to be better than them because they had a more difficult life. They dealt with lynchings. They dealt with, literally slavery was our grandparents. Yeah. That was slavery, our grandparents. So they had to deal with a lot more than we did. So I just wanted to talk about that. Like, so the way you were raised has a very big
huge impact
in how you handle stress in conversations. Because again, if you were taught not to speak as a kid,
then that's how you're going to behave. And so you fall into that freeze or the fawn. And I do think it's important, right? Nels, as you said, like the trauma, that impact that it has on just how you deal with individuals. I think one of the conversations we had too is about just like, even in the workspace, like knowing how to confront or deal with authority. I had a girlfriend who said to me, like, she's like, I'm afraid to talk to my boss. Like, I just, like, I'm afraid to say things. And what type of fear was ingrained in her, as a kid? They talk about the subconscious and how that's kind of all built up by the time you're like 22 or 25. And so a lot of the things that we're doing now is just like muscle memory based on whatever we were told as a kid. Fair tactic raising methods doesn't raise leaders. 100% facts, Kung Pao.
It doesn't. And even like when you talk about the physical abuse, because we don't ever talk about being abused as kids. But if any of you came from West Indian families or African families, you got beat. That was just a part of it. Don't spare the rod.
Don't spare the rod.
So like, we got that. And to me, it's like, there is now studies that show that when kids are physically abused as babies and growing up as kids, it impacts their mental. And it does. Like, it's a thing. So for me, there's always a place for those things. And again, some children, you have to do things differently than others. Hopefully all these kids are smart and they learn and they don't have to do all that stuff. But if they're not, you got to find what works best for your kid, but it doesn't have to be something that's condescending or something that's physically abusive. Like, those days are done. Like, I feel like
the words that you say, like, oh my God, the impact, right? It's not even just about the beating. It's like, what are you telling your child? What are you subconsciously feeding their mind?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they thinking I'm not good enough because you told them like they were stupid or they weren't smart? Like, what are you saying to that kid? Because they're taking that with them and going into the world, like, and
using the same words. They're using the same vocabulary with their kids, with their partners.
Oh my God,
Jinx! Are you saying what I'm saying, yo?
Seriously.
Two minds and one mic, and come on, use your own words. I'm just joking. But
why are you like this?
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, whatever you learn as a kid, you have the choice to choose if you want to utilize that. And sometimes it's subconscious. Like, you just take those things with you and you have to do the inner work to undo that. And that's where this conversation gets real. Like, all of us have our own baggage that we're coming into everything with in this life. It is your choice to keep things that don't serve you. And it's your choice to get rid of things that don't serve. It's a choice. 100%. It's a choice. So if you're out here talking about, well, my mom did this and my dad didn't do this and this, that, and the third, but yet you have friends, you have uncles, you have people in your circle that are giving you that same advice that you didn't get from your biological parents, what are you doing with the gems you're given?
Yes.
What are you doing with it?
Because you have to keep what works and what serves you and discard the rest that don't. Janelle said, it made us strong and resilient, a whole fact, but emotionally inept sometimes. And I agree. I agree. I think, Daddy, forgive me, but I remember.
See, why do we gotta have these "Daddy, forgive me" statements? Just
because my dad's so sweet. I remember the time he like spanked me or like maybe hit my hand. I must have been like 5, and then he sat on the stairs with me and cried. He was like, "I don't ever want to hit you."
That's a man that's tapped into his emotional side.
And I was like, it wasn't even like a beating. It was just like a little spank on my hand. And he was like, I don't ever want to do that. Please be good. And it's so amazing, right? So it's like that. The emotionally inept, sometimes it's like when you see that your parents are like showing emotion and don't want to be in that space, it's like, oh man, that's nice. And I know, like, I remember my mom saying to me, she's like, please don't beat my grandbaby. I'm like, you ain't got to worry about that.
No, I don't think that's what I said. I think my response was,
Mom said that.
I know, but I said, I think my response when I heard that was, don't tell me how to raise my kid. I'm like, did you beat your daughter? did you beat my wife? Because if you did, you don't get to say anything to me, okay? It's my kid, our kid. I do what I want, okay? I'm not going to beat her anyway, but I'm just saying it's my choice.
Yeah, you're funny. Kung Pao said, yep, that's their frame of reference. Unfortunately, unlearn as an adult, therapy, self-reflection and introspection, 100%. I'm always talking about introspection, and it's crazy. That is exactly what happens. You see a high rate of folks having to go to therapy, dealing with underlying stress. Like there's a lot of pent up aggression and just things that are happening internally. Sometimes we're not even aware of it. Like, it's like,
yo, listen, the closer you get to somebody, the more your stuff's going to come out. What's going on, Kurt? What's going on, Roy?
Hi,
Kurt. I see Robert up in here. Black Men Speaks. What's going on? Kung Pao. Antonio, what's up? Yeah, no, I think the closer you get to somebody in a relationship, the more of your shit, excuse my French, this might be a PG conversation. The more of your stuff is going to come out. Because the deeper your love goes, they're going to be unlocking all kinds of things that you may have buried in your childhood, buried in your life for a very long time. And this person that loves you is like, hey, we can go down this road together, or you can keep the baggage and just deal with that on your own. And like, you have to see that from the way I see it, I hope, which is that's love. Like someone's willing to walk down a path that's not even serving them because they love me. And then they want to help me come out of that because that's not serving us.
Yeah.
That level of commitment, you cannot find that as a single person. At least, honestly, you cannot find that dating somebody necessarily because, again, the commitment on their end may not be, they don't deal with your crap. Like, you keep that to yourself. But when you're married and when you're in a relationship that's committed and you both are like, hey, I'm a ride with you no matter what, that person is the right person to walk down that path with. And I'll tell you, it'll bring you closer when you go and unravel all of those things because, again, your partner is wound up with all of these negative things and experiences and feelings that's deep down inside. And like, they need help unraveling that. And sometimes they don't want to go to therapy. Sometimes you are the therapy. So if you're the therapy,
confidant,
listen, help unwind and do it at their pace. It's not about you. You're helping them through their stuff. Because when the roles are reversed and they got to help you through your stuff, you're not going to want to be rushed through that. So just think of that and be mindful of, okay, this is your skeletons. You open your closet as wide as you want and let's walk through this together. I'll only pry as much as you'll let me. And in relationships, you have to protect the union, but you also have to protect the integrity of your opportunity. Like, do not take the fact that you're close to me as an opportunity to then pry into areas that I'm not ready to share with you. Don't do that. Like, wait for me to share it because you have to be respectful of my boundaries. Yeah. And in relationships, boundaries,
they're imperative. Woo! Ooh, nice way to come back full circle, Avocado.
I was doing that. Come on.
Yes, boundaries are important. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I don't understand them.
It's going. Oh, I mean, my wife, she understands boundaries very well when it's everyone else. When it's me, she just be losing all sense because she loved me so much. She's like, what? You're like, not allowed to, but
little pig, let me in.
Listen, so I was told that because I was the youngest child, that's why
I did. I told him
that's why I like to be selfish with certain things.
I said he has selfish tendencies. This man is one of the most selfless, people I've ever met in my entire life. Listen, and I know we're both ENFJs, so it's a given.
Listen, so I'm just saying I got to be selfish sometimes because you know what? That's self-care. That's self-love. You got to know when to love yourself.
You
and
do.
For me,
you need a, yeah.
And for me lately, I've been eating 1 meal a day, right? So I'm like, guys, I get to eat once a day. I'm going to eat whatever the hell I want to eat. I don't care what anyone wants. Like, if I'm going to have 1 meal and see you guys, oh, I bought some cornbread, you want? Oh, I bought some bun and cheese, you want? Oh, I made jerk chicken at 10 o'clock, you want? Oh, I got these cookies, you want? I can't eat anything. I eat once a day. So you guys can do all of that. But when my 1 meal, you want to tell me to be what? Selfless? You kidding me? What kind of crap is that? So I'm going to ask for what I want. And that's what I'm going to take. And if you don't want to give it to me, I'm going to give it to myself. If that makes me selfish, oh, well, I'll take that because I'm selfless everywhere else.
Can we talk about the fact that there were 2 avocados and I didn't
Yeah, so you can talk about that. I was good.
All right, y'all.
You can spill that.
Story time. So there were 2 avocados, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to cut one for the baby to feed her lunch, and one of them just had a ton of blemishes on it. And I was like, I'm not really feeling this one. There is one left. So I chopped that one. I ate the part that had the blemishes, put it in the fridge. I'm like, hey, husband said, we're adults. We can eat it even if you don't want to feed it to the baby. So I said, I'm going to cut this other one because I feel like it might be less blemished. I cut it open. It's beautiful. Before I'm cutting it, he says, I want a full avocado. I'm like, but there's pretty much a full one in the fridge. I'm going to cut this one. You'll have technically 2. I want to be able to cut a full avocado and eat it the way that I want to eat it.
I'm a grown man.
Anyway.
I want my own big old avocado by myself. The whole thing.
We got the avocado in the background. And so I cut it. I gave it to the baby because it was blemish free. It was beautiful. It was a great avocado. And I felt like, you should share with your wife and child, especially your child. That's just where we're at with this one. And it's fine. Now you can have 2 avocados.
I won't be eating it. So guys, here's again the beautiful thing about our relationship. And I think, we are so genuine about who we are. And that's the thing about this. Like, don't go into this and pretend like you don't have petty stuff that's happening. Everyone's got petty crap. For me, it was like before this conversation of avocados, I'm like, listen, here's what I want. I know. Here's what I want. And before you cut this, just know that if you cut this avocado, I'm going to let you have the whole thing. I don't want any of it. It's okay. I'll find something else. We have a bunch of vegetables and fruits in our house. Like I can get something else. So I was like, I'm good. Just take it. It's like, enjoy the avocado, but I want to cut my own avocado and enjoy my whole thing. Cause growing up, we had 4 siblings and, we didn't have a lot of money. So when my mom got avocados, she would take one avocado and slice that little sucker up to the point where you got I don't even know what it was. It was like a fake wedge of a fraction of an avocado. I'm like, yo, what the?
Yeah, Chanel avocado.
I'm like, why am I eating this little sliver? You know what? As a matter of fact, I don't even want it. So now as an adult where we make our own money, we can go grocery shopping and buy our own things. I'm like, damn it. I'm going to enjoy a whole avocado for the first time in my adult life. I did that this week for the first time, a whole avocado. And guess what, guys and gals? It's amazing. It's amazing. Let me tell you. I got to share that with nobody.
Listen, don't tell people about my avocado allergy.
Tell them about it. I
still eat it and then I drink water.
So IG, YouTube, understand. Having a whole avocado for yourself is like bliss for me. I'm like, this is great. I don't want to give that up. It's a selfish thing. That's okay, but it's food. We can buy more avocado. It's not a big deal.
I cut a piece for the baby.
That's for the baby now. I got to cut that whole thing myself now. But this is the point though. So the point is even something as simple as that, it's really important that you realize no matter what the reason is, there's always going to be something that makes things happen, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. And we have to be mindful of how we respond in those moments, how we manage our emotions in those moments, and concluding in a manner where everyone understands you're being upfront and honest. Like I told my wife before she cut it, hey, listen, if you cut that, I'm not going to want it. So if you cut it, it's okay. You guys can have it. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know that when I get my time, I'm going to go buy a whole avocado and eat the whole damn thing because I just want to enjoy my 1 meal. And that understanding is now understood in our home, which is like, okay, he's this way. And granted, here's the thing about being a certain way, right? You leave the opportunity to change. Because at any point in time, I can change my stance and say, hey, half an avocado. Okay, you know what? I've had a whole avocado for a month. I'm good with this. Let's just give me a quarter. Give me my sliver.
I think what we came to an understanding that I think for me, I cut the avocado. I was like, I'm going to cut it for the baby regardless because I wanted something that was going to be less blemish. But I also understood that for him, I said to him, I was like, listen, I'm an older sibling. And
you see this? Kurt, so good to have a whole avocado. Look at the people that know.
Can I finish?
While avocados is life, though, look at the people. They know what I'm saying. Oh my God.
Everyone's agreeing with you. Okay, honey.
All right. I just want to make sure that I wasn't the only one that thought.
The conclusion that we came to was the fact that I understood his stance and the fact that he wanted something for himself. And I'm the eldest and he was the youngest for a very long time. And so I was like, okay, like I share everything. I have no issues with sharing anything. And so for me, I didn't understand. It was deeper than the avocado, I think. And that was a disagreement. I was like, why aren't you willing to share this? But so it goes back to boundaries. Everyone has the right to kind of to talk about and determine what they want. And it's up to us to respect that. And I think for me, it's okay. I understand where you are now. I see that this is what you want. So I'm going to respect those boundaries and not overstep them. Even though I have none when it comes to him, I'm like, listen, I got to respect yours. And because he can have half my avocado. I share everything.
She shares everything. And that's cool. And I think that sometimes when you share everything, you also get taken advantage of because you're so used to sharing things that you don't even know what boundaries are safe for yourself.
Right.
And I think there've been instances that we can attest to in our past where you've shared things that were yours not to necessarily share. But it was taken
because
for
I felt
granted.
like I had to.
Yeah, but it was taken for granted. And then you had to now reel that back and say, okay, let me set up a safe boundary for myself to share these things. So for me, it's like, I've been this way because I've been there already. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to help navigate this conversation in that way because I can do this all day. I set boundaries all the damn time.
And I just had an epiphany. He's actually taught me how to set boundaries with my own family.
Look at that, guys. Oh my God. A whole avocado. How dare I have a boundary on a damn piece of fruit.
It's so crazy.
Is avocado fruit or is that vegetable? I don't know what that is. It's like a vegetable. Yo, I'm loud. We have a wooden table right here, so we can knock and get that whole jinx.
As the oldest sibling, I can definitely identify with that. Exactly. Now it's like I'm like, listen, you all get whatever you want. Like I have no issues with sharing anything, and that's just how I've always been.
I'm sorry for y'all. Y'all can get your stuff taken. I remember that on my house, like if you were eating food slowly, my siblings would take it off your plate. Like I remember there were times where we would have like chicken nuggets or like little things that we would make, McCain's, chicken nuggets and fries and stuff. And if you didn't eat your fries fast enough and you go to the bathroom, you may come back and not see some of your fries. Like
trifling. I've never had to deal with that.
We love food.
And it makes sense. The trauma, that's the childhood trauma. Because I never had to deal with anyone stealing my food. I was the only child for 5 years.
I love you, Jannard, Ben, and Janelle. That's all I want to say.
I was the only child for 5 years. And so, and then when my brother came, I begged for him. So I was like, here, you could have, 3 for me, 2 for
Mother
you.
Teresa.
Remember that McDonald's
over
commercial?
Here. Whatever, man. I'm just happy that you're now creating safe spaces for us. What's the next topic? We got, that was 45 minutes. For all of you been here, did 45 minutes just go by like that? I just want to say that was fast.
It did. Chanel said, I love when an avocado is perfectly ripe. Me too, girl. I need it like good.
I am now new to this, so I love it too. Hey,
all right.
Avocado president right here.
I think we were talking a little bit about authority and like dealing with that, but I think shaking nerves, I don't know.
What do you want to talk about? You got a whole bunch of stuff.
Criticism.
Okay, let's do that. Because I think that actually can make or break a relationship. So let's say you have an opinion, right? And it's not positive. Shut the hell up. Simple. That's how I would start because a negative opinion, a negative opinion is like a butthole. Everyone's got one if they want to like use it. Like it's, but what's more difficult? But here's the thing, right? There are ways to express a negative criticism without having it sound negative. And I think that we utilize this type of language when we're talking about the positives of certain things. Like, hey, I like how this thing tasted. Or you could say, I hate the way you made this. You could say, hey, I didn't really like the flavor of this, but I know that I need to get used to it. You know? Like you can say the same
negative
thing.
For constructive. Yeah. So, like there's positive, negative, destructive.
I don't know. You have to teach me this. So you could, come on.
So with criticism, it's all in the delivery. Exactly, Chanel. So there's positive. There's so many different tiers of criticism, but I know the positive, negative, constructive, and then destructive. And so it's important for you, if you're going to critique something or someone, like it's important for it to be constructive, right? So telling them how they can adjust something or how they can change it versus just like, thank you.
Yeah. See, I'm the makeup guy too, just in case something goes around. I'm sorry.
Don't flirt with me.
Sorry. I'm sorry. This is what happens. This is why we don't do this together, because I want to just like end the live and just go somewhere,
Yes. So
Constructive criticism, negative ways of saying things. I got you.
Yes. So constructive criticism, just it's important in how you say things, as Chanel mentioned, like it's all about the delivery. So not necessarily, like you said, don't really come at it from a negative approach where you're attacking the person or saying, hey, this was gross. It's really saying like, hey, like I thought this was interesting. Maybe there could be a different way that this is done. I feel like we've had, I remember back in the day, I would just
how far back we going? Because we got some stories. I don't know how far back we're trying to go here.
Yes, I always say keeping it real doesn't equal being mean. I agree with that.
Wow. Listen here. So this is why I say what I say, because you can always get your point across without being nasty. And I think that a lot of relationships that go south, they go south and people get nasty quick. It's like they were waiting the whole 10 years to turn into this nasty monster and just light you up. It's like, why can't you just have a positive out? Like, I don't have to agree with you, but that doesn't mean I have to hate you. Like, why can't we disagree amicably? Yes. Like, if Alexia has an opinion on something, trust me, I respect this woman to the high heavens. You guys know. My thing is, if my opinion is different from yours, I'm going to state my opinion. I'm going to respect your opinion. If it's different, we're going to debate why it's different. And if we come to no conclusion, then that's what it is. But I don't have to be mad with you because of that. You're a whole independent individual. You have your own mind, your own thought processes, all of that. Why the hell do you need to be me? You don't. And I think in a relationship, when you're trying to be right and trying to get this person to think your way, you're not really, you're serving yourself.
What about being wrong and strong?
That's serving yourself. But see, it's the same coin.
Yes.
If you're serving yourself more than your relationship, it's going to fail. So if you care more about being right than about being in the right, and actually helping the conversation get to that place,
right?
You're serving yourself, and that's ego. And ego will kill a relationship faster than money and sex. I'll be honest.
And talk about, so remember we were actually having a conversation about this the other day. Like it's addressing the situation at hand, or addressing the situation versus like
the person.
No, remember what was it that we were talking about? I think it was like I didn't like something or you didn't like something, and it was like, well, it's about respect versus the actual situation at hand.
Oh, okay. So we had a disagreement on something, and the way that Alexia responded, I was like, okay, you can respond, but you're doing it disrespectfully. Like you're saying things in a disrespectful tone and manner that I wouldn't want my child to hear that. I wouldn't want my friends to overhear that. So you can't speak that way to me. And I think we respect our employer more than our partners sometimes. Yes. And it's really ridiculous. Like think about what you would say.
Say anything disrespectful.
No. But we're just talking about examples here. Examples. I'm just saying that in a relationship, sometimes when you think about how you interact with your partner, just think of them as if this was your boss and they were paying you, would you speak to them that way? Because if you wouldn't, you don't deserve the right to speak to your partner that way. Like, and I remember,
especially if that's your person.
There was a time when we first started dating, and her old office was really cool. Yeah. So she was kind of aggressive just because that was just the environment. And that's fine. And I'm like, yo, would you talk to your boss that way? She's like, no, but you're not my boss. I'm like, I know. Isn't that crazy? So like, why am I getting this? And to me, it was like, it's always been a thing where I'm going to make sure that at the end of the conversation, I can sit with what I said and be okay with that.
That's that part.
If I can curse you out and be okay with that afterwards, then I'm gonna curse you out. But I know me, I can't look at you and say I love you unconditionally and then curse you out like I don't love you unconditionally.
Like you're someone on the
and
street.
Then come back and be like, I forgot that I have what?
Yeah, that's not okay.
It's not, you can't do that, y'all.
You have to be mindful of how you're speaking. Again, it goes back to delivery, being mindful of how you speak to that person. You can't call them names. You can't call them out of their name. Like we've never spoken to each other like, oh, or you know what I mean? Like none of that, because when you do that, you're now demeaning that person. It's definitely creating a chaotic atmosphere, and you don't want to, you're going to regret it later.
And this is the thing, as a man, I know that for us, it's about respect. And sometimes when that gets too carried away, we go into an ego place. So the respect connects to ego for men. So if you disrespect me, you're disrespecting my ego. And if you disrespect my ego, that's something that I may take personally and hang on to a lot longer than I should if I haven't done my inner work. And for women, I feel like, what would it be for y'all? Like, would it be like the emotional piece? Like, how would that?
Well, if you talk about emotion logic, I think for us, it's respect too. Yeah, you have to respect me as a woman. You have to respect me as a person. Like I don't tolerate disrespect. So I think it's just a person thing. It's not, but again, for men, it's that ego.
Though, you gotta,
and then, and I think for women, we want to feel cared for. You want to
feel loved. Yeah. You want to feel like the love
and the care it's caring for. But then again, sometimes it goes back to how you're raised too. Like, I'm all about respect.
Now, let me tell you something. I think that this is going to be holding true to most successful relationships, because I've had a few, and this is the most successful I've had. Obviously, I'm married with kid. I think that when it comes to your relationship, you have to understand that you're going to see your partner at their worst. And if you can't handle your partner at their worst, you don't deserve them at their best. Men, I'm talking to you right now. Women, you guys can you just close one ear and open up the next, because you want to eavesdrop what I'm saying to these men. Men, if you cannot handle your woman, and by handle, I don't mean physically. I'm saying if you cannot understand and interact with your woman at her worst, you don't deserve her at her best. That is a rite of passage that you have to go through. So if you haven't done the inner work to be able to be mature enough to deal with a woman yelling at you, I'm not saying that you do this, or doing anything to you that you don't like, disrespectful, whatever. If you can't handle that, stay single, date, and enjoy your single life, because a marriage is different. You have to have restraint. You have to know that your partner is someone that you signed up. This is a two-way street. You signed up for this. Yeah. So when they're at their worst,
yes.
What's your decision? Either A, help them through it, or B, leave. That's it. You have no other options. Yeah. Help them through it or leave. And if you do things to sabotage that and leave, you didn't deserve them in the first place, because you're not the right man for them. Because there's going to be a man that's going to sit down with them and walk them through that, because he was mature enough and he's an actual man, not a boy. You can have the mic.
Chanel just said you chose this life. That's a fact.
Your turn.
What you like? I concur completely. Agree.
I was just talking to the men, so you got to talk to the women.
I eavesdropped. All the ladies eavesdropped, and we agree. Like, if you choose this life, you got to be about this life, and if not, then you got to go. Okay.
Simple.
Just know, like, there's going to be disagreements, and no one is perfect. No one is perfect, and people are going to make mistakes and say things and do things that sometimes aren't of them, but it's important for you to be there and stick with them through it. Like, we won't put anything on the record. I'm gonna just say,
this is going to be saved on Instagram. So more of the
just
story.
know, like, I signed up for this, and I'm going to make a choice to choose you every day. And that's just what we have to do. Yeah. Like, I choose you today, and
listen,
I'm gonna choose you tomorrow.
A marriage, a committed relationship. Listen, it is one of the best things that you can have in your life, because it's going to challenge every part of you. It's going to challenge your mind, your heart, your physical body. It's going to challenge everything. And if you make it through the challenges, trust me, the other side is a beautiful family. And I think that in our community, we don't have enough of them, because we have been attacked societally to prevent something like this from happening. Yeah. Where you have two strong-minded Black individuals who have a healthy dialogue, are getting along, are going to have children, and are going to be positive impacts in the community. Like, this is the most deadliest thing in the world right now. Two Black people that want to change some stuff, that love each other unconditionally, and you can't break them apart.
A fact.
You want to see dangerous? This is dangerous. So guess what? Let's get dangerous. Let's get dangerous.
I'm dead. I love it.
I'm just saying.
No, this is completely true. They've done so much to destabilize the Black home. And so it's important for us to do our best to try to keep it. And, we'll do everything in our power to help our people. And it just goes back to how it started off, just seeing things like what happened to Dante Wright and what continues to happen within our community. They need to stop killing our men. They need to stop killing our people. They need to stop touching our children. Like, at the end of the day, like, I don't even want to cry right now. It's just,
at the end of the day, we have to protect ours. And it starts with your inner work. It starts with going through yourself and getting to a place where you can then share who you are and who you truly want to be with another soul. And when you can do that the right way, trust and believe, nothing can break that. I don't care what kind of days we have, baby. Like, there's nothing that's going to break us, because we've made a decision. And honestly, nothing can get in between that. Yeah. So once you're in that space, now it's time to start working. So folks, we're going on Clubhouse after this.
Yes, 9:30.
I hope y'all are about this conversation. We're going to get into it. It's going to be more interactive because this is just you and I, although we have the comments that are lit up right now.
Yes.
Join us on
Thank you,
Clubhouse.
guys.
And next week, we're going to continue part 2 of this because we have to share these types of interactions so that you understand that you're not the only one going through it. I don't care if you're single, if you're married, if you're divorced, if you're whatever. We all have to go through this work, and we have to respect our women. We have to respect our men. Yes. Men are 90% the violent offenders. So men, we have to check ourselves and our aggression at the damn door and not use that when it comes to our women. They've seen enough. They've dealt with enough. So it's our turn now to step up and give them a damn reprieve. Black women have been holding up this country since the inception. Black men have been brutalized, murdered, killed, hung, put into prison unfairly and unjustly. I understand where we are and I understand where they are. Now, here's the beautiful part. Let's normalize healthy Black families.
Let's normalize healthy interactions.
Let's normalize Black men that aren't being shot and killed. Let's normalize Black men being leaders. Let's normalize men and women. Let's normalize women being leaders, which they've been.
Let's normalize children understanding financial literacy. Let's normalize Black wealth. Let's normalize Black legacy. Like, it all needs to be normalized, and our lives need to be normalized, period.
I got nothing to say after that, girl. You done.
Period.
End it, point blank. Yes, ma'am. So if y'all love this, click the link in our bio, follow our YouTube. We're going to be giving out more content like this. We have a website, www.theway.com. We're doing philanthropic stuff right now. We have some projects in Jamaica, and we're also doing a financial literacy course for students that we're developing right now. So check out our website. You'll see some information there. But for me, the thing is, make a damn difference. And I'm not going to end this without talking about St. Vincent. Y'all need to do something. Yeah. Like, these are our brothers and sisters right now that are struggling to just have the basics of clean water and clean clothes. They have nothing. I've done relief work before. I understand what it's like. This is worse than what I've seen after Hurricane Maria. This is worse than that. So I donated. I submitted information. Everybody just do something to improve. We have it on
our page?
No, but it will be. Okay. So just do something to donate, to help out St. Vincent, because again, our thoughts and prayers are with those families as well. Again, with Brother Wright and his family, like, do something. Because that could have been me. That could have been me. That could have been you. That could have been y'all. So just because it's not your island doesn't mean that you didn't get affected. Just because it wasn't your son that died doesn't mean that it couldn't be your brother or your husband. So we're all in this together. And that's how we're going to make it through this. Yeah. One love, one community, and just having that love, and everyone can see what we're doing, right? So that's all I got. Yeah. You got? No. All right, so folks, this is the Igways signing off. Thank you for joining us on Wealth Wednesday. We'll see y'all in Clubhouse, and if not, we'll see you next week. And remember, love each other.
Bye.
Adios. All right, YouTube, you finally get her. You get
I'm
us.
Like looking.
She's looking up there. You get us now. So thank you for joining us on here as well. We love you guys. And again, you know, this is the type of topic we have to have real discussions on. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next Wealth Wednesday. All right. Peace.
Bye. Love you guys.